Welcome to our Entrepreneurial Summit, where we are going to introduce our latest addition to the Root Cause brand, Root Cause Solutions. We're going to give you the behind-the-scenes story that's 3 years in the making as to how we got to this latest venture, and also why. But to summarize, in essence, what we're going to be going over is how to align personal and professional abundance. So for those that are already entrepreneurs, those that are trying to stay entrepreneurs, those that are trying to enter entrepreneurship in the health and wellness industry, we're going to share our own journey that we've had and show you where we started and show you where we are now. We're going to give you some insights and some information that we think might help with the enlightenment process to really truly maximize a balance that is possible. I know because I'm living it now, and I'll share on that in a moment. But a balance which is truly possible between the professional and the personal sphere. So first, let us define what abundance even is. So abundance is defined, if we look at the dictionary, as an extremely plentiful or oversufficient quantity or supply, such as an abundance of grain. Overflowing fullness, abundance of the heart. Affluence, such as wealth, the enjoyment of abundance. So in examples 2, we have kind of the intangible or the ethereal, right? The emotive or the feelings, the quality of life, if we can so describe. And in 3, we have the tangible assets, the material portion of life, which in fact is half of the equation. So we can look at a bit of both in the human experience really represented there, right? Abundance is not just what we have on a balance sheet. Now, how do we align with abundance is the question. It's nice to talk about things, but how do we actually create them? So it's important to understand that this creation that we see as abundance is not just a destination. It's not just a tangible asset as we've seen. It is not a destination, but is also a vibration. And that is because abundance really is a mindset. It is a vibe. It is a rhythm. It is an embracement of growth. And so much of entrepreneurship really centers around that. Now, mind over matter is kind of a quintessential saying that we're very familiar with. But if we really think about that, and I teach in the Physics Meets Physiology course, there's so much of what we say that we don't really actually look and see the root of what it really means. Mind over matter. That is because mind is going to, in fact, impact matter. It is the software which is going to run the hardware. Now, if we see here, we have just some basic diagrams, which are showing the shift that we might need in mind shift if we're expecting to grow from working from somebody else to working for ourselves. There's quite a bit of dynamic changes that happen when we do that. A lot of responsibility we take on, but also some liberty that we gain in the process. But one of those things is also expanding beyond what others think of us. What if we do this thing that we believe might be a good idea, but perhaps others might not like it? What would they think of us? Well, I assure you, every single individual out there who's ever went viral probably thought that at some point, but they didn't let that stop them. The other thing that we have to talk about here is the self-doubt, or this is for everybody else but not me, the imposter syndrome that can happen. Especially for those of us with our generational backgrounds where entrepreneurship was not on the table, working for the man, if you will, and kind of brought up to really follow suit and having an identity caught up in something that really wasn't ours to begin with, an identity that didn't start with us, but can end with us if we would like to see it that way. So really a lot of this begins in the fundamental software. And if you haven't attended the Bloodwork Summit that we did, the Beyond the Bloodwork Summit, I talk about what the software versus hardware kind of analogy means, and it's worth going and doing the deep dive of the 3 days that we have there to see that. But essentially, the software is this intangible portion of things. It's the information, right, that animates and directs the way the hardware is going to work. And in this case, the thoughts that we have, the feelings, the beliefs, right, this is our software. And it's going to run the hardware. And so this is going to impact the way our physiological function plays out, but also the way that our businesses and those endeavors and ventures play out. Because just as we can extrapolate this software versus hardware kind of analogy for the human experience, so too can we actually apply this to businesses. And that is because that this is a single system of universal law. We're going to get more into all of that later on. But for now, let's actually just stay focused on what achieving abundance means. So in entrepreneurship, you're not going to get this thing to work unless you do. If you've ever heard the quote or saying, your dreams don't work unless you do, it's absolutely true. You have to get in there and sometimes roll up the sleeves. And before you concentrate on this perfect type of business plan, you're never going to really find that, right? There's got to be a bit of grit and working shoulder to shoulder in the environment that you want to penetrate. If this is the health and wellness industry, then that would be it. But you have to actually go in and get your hands dirty to realize what it is that you are aligned with at all. You may have a different idea or theory when you begin, only to see how that has evolved once that you actually put some experience behind it. Any writer will know what book you start out trying to write and what you actually finish is going to be a pretty different thing. So keep that in mind. Now, with that said, entrepreneurship may not work unless we do, but there's a way to go about it. That you will do the work. There's no debate. You will do it. But how you do it really is what we want to talk about and focus here. And so this really brings us to a full circle moment for RCC, especially for myself. And I'd like to actually go through the phases that I feel, at least in my end, that we have experienced and what it has done for us as a company and what it has done for myself on a personal level. So prior to starting Root Cause Clinic, I was really doing all the things. I was crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's. As we will learn with the 5 elements in entrepreneurial styles, me being a metal element with water as well, but heavily regulated by the metal, it really was very much a part of me to have this discipline and this order and this organization. And I had to brace myself whenever RCC came around, because there simply was just so much to do. And at that point in our business, before we could go on to training and developing others and all these other things that we'll talk about here that incorporate the growth of a business, we had to do it ourselves. Even if you start accruing the capital and ability to hire outside of yourselves, there's just so fast that you can delegate this work. It takes time to train people. It takes time to do this, right? So there's actually 2 ways that businesses can become strapped. And it's one, it's not having the time or the money to really even get people on board to help you. And so either way, you end up having to do it yourself. And there's, again, only so many hours in the day. This becomes unsustainable very quickly. And that, in fact, happened to us. I gained 20 pounds in the first year of Root Cause Clinic. And not that it's all about the weight, but that just kind of gives a representation as to, me being such an uber disciplined person that I couldn't sustain that for myself. I couldn't even sustain a moderate amount of that. And mind you, I'm a short sleeper, so I can get away without the sleep that many people would require. And I'm not saying that from a, bragging standpoint. It's just, it is what it is. I, however, was probably sleeping 1 or 2 hours a night for probably a year, the first year of Root Cause Clinic. Many days where I would not sleep, period. If you ask anybody else to function under that who isn't a short sleeper, they wouldn't probably be able to. I did. I didn't function optimally, though, if truth be told. And that had its repercussions. It had its repercussions in what I feel could have been me reaching my zenith and really performing to the capacity that I wanted to, showing up for not just others, but even myself, the personal life and how that affects our relationships and everything that it entangles, or which we actually sacrifice whenever that we are in the do-it-yourself phase. And I can go on and on about all the things that went to the wayside during this time period. But what I'm going to focus on now is what that evolved us into, which was once that we were able to really get our brand out there, and it was successful, but albeit so successful, we didn't have the capacity to really fulfill the needs. We became cognizant to the fact that we could outsource all of our needs, or at least as many of them as possible. And so we moved on from this do-it-yourself phase to the get it done by others phase, which sounds great in theory, right? Pay someone to do it and keep your time because your time is money. Well, again, very nice in theory, because communicating your brand, communicating you, right? This is not so easy. Easier said than done, as I say. And we lost so much in translation when we began to trust many others with our brand, our message, whether it be through social media, whether it be through outsourcing specific type of work or, creative or design. It just wasn't representative of who we really were. And so then there comes back in the dynamic of time to try to rectify that, right? You're trying to outsource work for efficiency's sake, but then you feel like you lose touch with the essence and core of what you really came to this vision and this venture in the first place for, and then you're fixing it. Or you're simply having to go back and forth because nobody's going to really put that love, desire into their work the way you will if it is your business, right? It's not personal for them. It's just a paycheck. And so it's not going to produce that same type of result. Now, ultimately, as a business scales, you're going to have to outsource things. You just have to. But what we choose to outsource and what we regard as something that only we can do, that's that second learning curve that we hit about a year into our business. And so from get it done by others phase, we found ourselves in the almost want to give up phase because we had tried doing it ourselves. That was exhausting. We had tried outsourcing. It was also exhausting, but for a different reason. And even had some bridges burned in the process in this trust. And trust is essential. I'm not saying that you can't go out there and trust, but it has the ability to burn you like anything in life. And that indeed happened to us. And we paid the repercussions for that for quite some time. And it would have been just easier to give up, honestly. With our backgrounds, Dan and I, we could walk away from this venture and be financially fine in our own private lives based on our own private financial statuses. But we did not want to do that. And also we felt we couldn't. And why was that? Because we had people who depended on us, whether it was for their true personal enrichment in life, people who were clients of the clinic, people who wouldn't let us give up on them, even if we wanted to, because they didn't give up on us. And people that were working for us, we couldn't do that. And so we found ourselves going out of the give up phase into the can't give up phase. And that's where we really tried to reconcile with this do it yourself, get it done by others. What can we do and what can we outsource? And how do we go about that, right? Especially with this reference point that we had, which was one that had kind of had our eyes opened, right, to what was out there at this point. And from that, it took us into the find a solution phase. We couldn't do anything else but find a solution. And that's exactly why we've come to the point that we have this whole full circle journey. And in doing this, it has been a transformation, not just in the logistics of a business and a business plan or model and what you do from that aspect. Again, it's not just about the balance sheet, but it's about the balance in life, period. And anyone or many of you who have been following me for some time have probably seen that throughout the last 3 years, seeing how I started, right? I had 1 month where I just blew up on Instagram and I was so plummeted by all that the interest that there was that I was buried in it. And from there, I never really ever regained that kind of traction on social media. I wasn't able to do it, right? As we were in this do-it-yourself phase. It took the consequential role on my health that I described. And that showed up in the physical, and it showed up in all aspects otherwise, even as a person, right? And especially my personal life. And I come now to this point in my time in life that I have actually come back to that circle. I've come back to myself, and it took me getting away from myself to realize how far I'd gone and really reflect on the whole cycle that we'd been through, and to be able to now be able to talk about that and talk about that from a solution-oriented standpoint, and to have the walk behind the talk, because here I am, I've lost the weight, and it's not about just losing the weight, for goodness sakes. But it kind of, any woman will tell you, it kind of couldn't be too, because I definitely faced my plateau. For the first time in my life, I could not lose the weight. I thought, geez, okay, that's it. I'm going to throw in the towel. This is it for me. I'm finally one of those cases where I'm not going to lose the weight, right? All the cases that I've been able to help, and am I going to be the case that I can't help? But it took fixing the software. It took fixing what was inside, right? To be able to create the changes on the outside. And it was an emotional journey, and it was a physical journey. And it was a journey that reflected in our businesses as well, coming full cycle on the inside, reflected on the outside. There's a lot of acumen that we went through in the process of doing the learning by doing. I went to an agriculture school that actually used that motto. It was all about teaching science to the scientists, so that if you were an agriculture scientist, you didn't just say a lot of nice facts from a book, but you could actually go plant food for people. Can't tell you how many people in science can't do. And we had to learn that the hard way, as they say. We learned this doing it. But that's not the only way that you can come to attaining the ability to find solutions. And we'll talk about all of that. So what I just referenced in my own personal journey, and finally coming back into myself, not just in the physical sphere or being able to fit back into 80% of my clothes. Well, actually, I can fit into more percent of that, but literally not having been able to fit into all of my wardrobe for all of this time, not feeling like myself, and almost beginning to get ready to accept that as the new normal, until that I didn't, until it reminded me of that fire that really started me here and how important it was to get back in touch with that. And now that I have that, I'll never let it go again. It's so easy to become imbalanced in this field of service that we feel that everyone else is entitled to the service except us. The truth is, as cliche as it sounds, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And we say this all the time, even if we don't live it, but we say it because it's nonetheless true. The fact that we say it and nobody listens doesn't make it any less true. So that really is a thing for me. It's about abundance. It's about being able to believe that abundance can be automated, that we can best serve those who come to us for help, and we can serve them at a capacity which allows us to still serve ourselves. And in fact, there will be no longevity to what we are doing if we can't do that. I've lived that lesson. And that's what we're here today to talk about. So the entrepreneurial overdraft. 99% of people who venture into entrepreneurship actually fail. They fail within the first 5 years. And why do they fail? They fail because they run out of money. They run out of time. Again, maybe they're in the outsource phase or they're in the do-it-yourself phase. Either way, they run out of the energy to sustain that. Money is energy. Money is an energy exchange. Time, right? This is a currency as well. And C, they get tired of this cycle. They just get tired of it. The ups and the downs. They get tired of not having the money, trying to find the money, not having the time, trying to find the time. And they end up throwing the towel in. The phi effect of entrepreneurship. Now, in the course for Physics Meets Physiology in Module 4, in the Feelings Become Flesh section, I talk about how that we can actually create a transformation from within by not just having to do it the hard way, which is experience. We can do it through what is kind of considered enlightenment. We can learn mistakes that we ourselves live, or we can try to learn from others. We can have things which are taught to us, and we can end up teaching ourselves. If you look at this, you see two spirals here on the right. And so what you'll note is we have one going up and one going down. The downward spiral is representing a lot of what we call our base or human emotions. And this is typically associated with that which is negative. This would be things like jealousy, rage, anger, fright, fear, all of that. But at the end of the day, even though it's a long story and we won't get into that here, all these emotions are okay. They serve you. They give you some type of information to help you in that particular time. If somebody is trying to take your child, anger is something that you need to literally send the energy through your arms that you will fight for your child back. If we were in all of a kumbaya state, this would not be possible. Emotion is information. Likewise, if we only stayed there, that would be a base level existence. And man is more than the material sphere. There is an etheric sphere. And so hence from the middle point there, we go up and we see that this is the upward spiral. We have all the nice, happy emotions there, if you will, or positive or high vibes, as they like to say. But it's actually about a lot more than just high vibes, because we cannot avoid the friction or the resistance that we're going to get in this terrestrial world. There's going to be waves, so you've got to learn how to surf them, or you can sink. But how you're going to surf, that is a conversation, and that's what we're talking about here. So all entrepreneurs are going to have to navigate trial and error. We did it. You're going to have to do it. Nothing will spell success like excess. And when times are good and the champagne is pouring, everybody's around and it's good. But when times aren't so good, when it rains, it pours. And not the way that the champagne poured, right? So trial and error, however, is not the only story, and it has two sides to its coin. You can have experience or you can have enlightened-based ways to grow. And what we're focused on here is really looking at the enlightened ways to go about growing. Now, we can arrive at solutions without always having to take this route of greatest sacrifice and or suffering. And if we really think about it, that's the only kind of mantra that's been portrayed or pictured for us. So it's natural that we would kind of think that this bottom portion or way of doing things have to go up, have to go down to go up, right? Is the only way that we can get to success. Now, there's going to be some of that, absolutely, but it doesn't have to just be that. Being of service doesn't have to be something that is self-sacrificing. There can be abundance, and in fact, that makes everything and trickle effect that is more abundant for those who you are serving. It doesn't need to be an either or choice. It's not about selfishness. It is about actually being selfless. In order to be able to get to the point that you can do the pro bono work, that you can give the way you want to give, the way that you actually came into this field to do, there's got to be something there for you to do it with. And you got to look at the resources and know that they are not limitless. And so you're going to have to focus your efforts, your time, your money, and use that wisely so that you can use it as fully as possible. And so we've done it the hard way, if you will. If you ever heard that saying, again, you can do it the easy way or the hard way. We definitely did it the hard way. But we're still standing, as I've said, and we're here to talk about it. Let's talk about what we actually were able to accomplish during this time of self-reflection. So in going through the do-it-yourself phase, going through the have others do it, and going through the let's give up, none of this works, to we can't give up, to, well, how do we find a solution to not give up? What were the questions that we had to ask in this reflection period? So to engineer our answers, we came up with the following, and that was, how can we consolidate our expenses and support financial abundance? And what are we paying for that is redundant that would be able to be consolidated? What kind of platforms could we find that perhaps we're offering 3 or 4 of the things that we needed in one for less money, as opposed to having 3 or 4 of them? Not to mention that there's 3 or 4 things to log into, 3 or 4 things to manage, 3 or 4 things to get familiar and trained on, right? Encompassing time. And what were we outsourcing that we could actually internally automate? What could we do that could be just done on its own, taking advantage of technology? And then we looked at how to automate processes, period. Not just from within what we were doing that was being outsourced, but what were things that we could actually do to purposely actually manipulate time? What were we single-handedly trying to do that we could automate? And that's when we came up with root cause solutions. Logging into just the 15, 20 things that you can subscribe to takes time. And guess what? You may not log into one of them one day and you forget to check it. That might have repercussions for the business too. Not to mention you're paying for all of this. Forget a password. How annoying is that? And there's even apps you can pay for that help you remember your passwords. So just think about how crazy this can all get. One of the most frustrating things for me that on a not just professional, but personal level is all the different platforms in which I have to owe answers, be it Instagram's different Instagram accounts, email accounts, different email accounts, direct messages that I get in Voxer, right? All the different ways that people can reach us, all the different ways and platforms that we have to be available and check. This is alone, just looking at the notifications coming up, going to be stressful. So being able to really consolidate that and put that down into one area is big. And to be able to actually do that in a way that not only incorporates centralization of communication, but also do so in a way that would meet a lot of other check marks for us, right? Such as HIPAA compliance, automations, just really being able to know if somebody were to come into our, Instagram and be interested and sign up to receive our information, that we could have a funnel set up so that there would just be this automated direction that would take that person to the answers that they need without it having to be a back and forth thing, time intensive, right? Either time, hard time, or money that we're outsourcing to have somebody do that with their time, who may not have the same investment that we have. And those of you who have actually spoken with me in DM know that I take that time, and you can feel that there's actual real care behind those messages. I voice message many messages myself. So to keep that quality of care, to be able to control the answers and know that this would get in the areas that it was needed, but not have to be awake 24/7 to do it, it was something that we knew needed to be automated. And that's what we've done. Funnels, again, to put not just some of these contexts and answers to, but anything that you could think of, marketing campaigns and more. If you do any affiliate marketing, if you've ever worked with companies that don't exactly have the best tracking and you talk about it on your Instagram, someone doesn't necessarily purchase or buy right there, but then maybe a couple of days later, they just do a straight Google. That was somebody you brought to the company that you didn't get paid for, right? And there's actually going to be some talk today about affiliate marketing because it has such a stigma to it. It's somehow branded as something that is less socially acceptable to make money from than other avenues. But one of the things that one of the speakers who's going to speak, Britt Galvin, who is an affiliate for Nuvita, has mentioned, it's a pyramid in the corporate world or it's a pyramid in affiliate marketing. The only difference is that you have the ability to have more autonomy within that affiliate role. And so we need to really drop that stigma, because if you like something, if you are drawn to something, if you're already doing it, why not get money for it? Why not get paid for it? Why not monetize that so that your time is working for you? And why not streamline that so that all of that time and money that is working for you is in one easy to manage spot? So income diversification allows you to do that with affiliates that you may already be working with, and or you may learn in the next lecture that we do for day 2 that there are opportunities with Root Cause Clinic as well, such as with our course for Physics Meets Physiology, as well as selling some of these other affiliate links that we have with partners such as Nuvita and or doTERRA. So that will be for another conversation, but there are also opportunities with us as well. CRM, as well as looking at the community, right? There will be a built-out community within the full context of root cause solutions. So it's not just the platform to hold all these logistics that we're talking about, and I haven't even talked about them all yet, such as social media that you see here, but having a community where that we can in fact learn from each other, a tribe that is sharing the same vibe. And we're going to get to why that we can literally say that here, because we have brought the vibes to this venture. And then looking at the ability to actually care about ourselves, the health of the entrepreneur. In fact, when we went looking for a platform that we felt would represent the holistic industry or the holistic ventures, we didn't find one that actually did that. How ironic, right? So we wanted to create it. One that looked at not just supplying a good client experience or that provided the great exterior for the client to have an experience with us, but to maintain that by keeping the provider able to do that for themselves. So not only with the logistics here that we have supplied, are we making it functional from that kind of tactile technological standpoint, but we also wanted, again, to come down to be able to actually touch lives personally, the way that we do in Root Cause Clinic. We wanted to extend that experience here, and we will. And we're going to be doing that by incorporating an approach that is a little bit different than you may have read in many of the Harvard Business Reviews. We're going to use science, but we're just going to use some subtle energy science. We're going to take it beyond what is on the surface of things like just psychology and really look at the universal law that actually creates that. And that brings us to the 5 entrepreneurial styles according to the elements. Using this information and this analysis has been perhaps the most profound thing for me, and really is what allowed me to bring myself to the point of recognizing the things that we had to recognize here to create this venture for my own personal transformation to be able to occur. In understanding the elements which comprise all the fabric of creation, and each having or ascertaining their own unique rhythm, ebb and flow, we can understand not only ourselves and what is an inherent fundamental frequency for us, what is our inherent natural rhythm to stay in balance, but be able to recognize when we are out of that. And furthermore, by understanding the other elements, we can understand how we can go about doing that. We can organize our teams to structure them so that they are in fact balanced to support the best assets of everybody, while also accommodating some of our areas of opportunity. Each element will carry its own unique gifts. And mind you, we all have all of the elements within us. A dominant element is just that. It's just our dominant. It's our lead fundamental frequency. But as you'll see here, it's all related. We may have a dominant element, and that will be created or generated by another. So that would matter, right? It also matters what we contribute to generating with our dominant elements. That might matter as well. In Chinese medicine, these are actually correlated to certain systems of the body, certain types of emotions, colors, seasons, food preferences. I mean, you name it, we could go on and on. We won't do that in just this presentation. But if you are a member on Root Cause Solutions, you can look forward to these type of insightful points to help you apply both business acumen as well as acumen that will support your own anatomy and physiology. And the essence, right? The software that animates that. But you can see how understanding the relationships outside of just whatever our dominant element is also matters, as well as what is called a overcoming effect. So these lines or these arrows in the middle that you see that create this star, they are what are going to control the elements from becoming imbalanced when they become a bit too congested and or hyperactive. Nature has natural law and order and control, and it plays out in what we see. It also plays out in the workplace. It plays out in the battle within ourselves. And so being able to understand the dynamics with which this ebb and flows will help us to better manage the ebb and flows, whether it be within the team that we lead or our own lives as a single entrepreneur. Understanding the inherent rhythms will help us, perhaps as good or better than anything will, in my opinion. We're going to be able to synergize our lives at a personal level and a professional level, not just for ourselves, but for all lives we touch. So let's actually look at the elements and break them down and learn their natural rhythms and kind of how this might be sized up in the workplace. Many of you will identify with some of these. Trust the gut. We have, however, an extensive quiz that you can take, which we have taken the liberty to set up online, and you can go through and you can click to get your results. Some 250 questions, right? Don't have to add it up, don't have to do the math. You will have all of your results calculated, and you'll be able to see your dominant element as well as the distribution of all the other elements that comprise you. I personally am a water and a metal element. Those are my 2 dominant elements, equally dominant, in fact. And when I talk about this, perhaps some of you who actually know me will be able to see exactly how spot on this is. You can even look to see how you can decorate your office. And in fact, you might see that when we get into some of these later, presentations in the Root Cause Solutions portal, that things that you just always liked and just figured you liked them because you liked them will make sense. You'll understand why you like them, because your rhythm and that rhythm jive. That creates a harmonic effect, right? Amplification, if you will, just like a tuning fork. So let's start with water element. Water embodies flow, intuition, and meaning. This is the spring from which endless potential flows. These are who create our ideas. They give birth to it all. They are the visionaries, the artists, and they are the ones that are always ever seeking their muse and meaning in life. Meaning is everything to a water, which is true. I struggle to do frivolous actions, small talk for the sake of doing it. I can definitely be diplomatic. That's my middle element, which we'll talk about next, but it has to have some sort of meaning. I have no problem to not do things, even if it's not cool, if it doesn't have meaning. So this can translate to the canvas, conversation, as I mentioned, or the highest contemplation of consciousness. Water takes us places, and it takes us places without even having to even leave the edge of our seat. Now, when water is overwhelmed, as are all the elements, and we get congested because precisely it is our rhythm that we get stagnant or stuck in it, because that's our default rhythm. That's how we go about leading. That's how we go about acclimating to stress. That's how we go about everything, because that's who we are. So when we are congested, and that element is not able to release or give way to interacting with the others, we get an excess. And more is not more in Mother Nature. So water is the only element which is actually not self-defining. How do we define water? You would need a boundary, wouldn't you? It is limitless by nature. And that is where that we get this quality that it's ever able to emit and absorb. But this is the double-edged sword here, because this is precisely what creates this idealism that is so beautiful and attractive, but also can be paralyzing when it becomes a point of idealistic translating into unrealistic. So if we are a water entrepreneur, then we have a great supply of ideas. That will never be a challenge for us. But what may be a challenge is bringing them into reality. So we may need to embrace some other elemental qualities within ourselves, and or learn the other element that we need to lean on to help us to do so. Because a water element that is stuck in water can thwart a team like no other. When utopian ideals are upheld at the cost of acknowledging what and who it takes to truly execute them. So when do we let water lead? We let them lead when we need inspiration. If we are in a dry spell and we just need something that is going to be new, we need to think of something else, a new why, a new what. This is where the water, if you are a water entrepreneur, you need to let that rise. If we are not, those are who we need to let into the mix. Next is metal element. So metal entrepreneurs, and mind you, again, you can take this quiz on rootcausesolutions.co. You will get the results emailed to you, and from there, you'll actually have access to this material that we are reviewing right now, but several others, and there will continue to be a plethora of information, as I mentioned there. But you'll be able to type yourself and reflect back on this information to truly be able to apply it. But if we are a metal dominant element, so if we are a metal-based entrepreneur, we are those that embody organization, structure, and precision. We are the definition of focus and clarification. That is true. Now, a side note about waters is that they're the most easily distracted because, again, they don't have the boundary. Yet metals are the ones that are ever focused. So seen as how we have a metal and a water element for myself, I am the most prone to suffering from distraction. I am the most affected by distraction. It is so hard for me to get back to that detailed focus whenever I am taken out of it. So hard. And that is because of this combination of these two elements for myself and the rhythm that that creates. So metals will take information and it will digest it, organize it, and spit it out so the rest of us, well, maybe others, I am a metal, but for the rest of the world to be able to digest, right? They are the quintessential intellectuals, naturally enlightened, if you will, but so unmistakably dialed in that sometimes in their quest to understand and do the precision-based perfectionistic work that they do, that they can actually become very isolated. Metals have no problem to be alone, and neither do waters. Waters for their creative portion and search of meaning, but metals for their precision and obsession with finding the answer. So I don't mind to be alone whatsoever. And I've always been made to feel as though that this is not a good quality, or it's antisocial, or that something is wrong, right, with me for that. And in the times that I've pushed away from that natural rhythm, it's backfired on me. And so innately I learned to trust this, but in learning in the elements, how that this comes together to explain why I am the way I am and what benefits me, what scenarios and setups benefit me, I stopped fighting that. I embraced it, and it has made me all the more productive because of it. Knowing how I need to set up my workflow, my space, who's around it, who's in it, and how it is run is ever important to be productive. Now that's my water metal element, but there's many ways and many rhythms that we may need, and all of it will be different because we are all different. So metals, when we are overwhelmed, as I mentioned, can kind of come off sometimes in the workplace as aloof or unapproachable. And this can be a bit hard because it can create this very distant hardness, right, between us and others. But when we, in fact, need organization, we want to embrace that metal element. We want to let metal lead, the metals in our tribe. That will be the vibe that we want to uphold at that time, to take whatever it is that we need and to organize it, to engineer it. That brings us next to the woods. And so woods represent tenacity, justice, and execution. Nobody is going to fight for the cause the way that a wood will. They will be the first ones to speak up when everybody else is being nice and politically correct. They will get a job done no matter what. For a wood, we could say they're the quintessential workaholics, and their rhythm is one that aims to deliver. They deliver their deadlines yesterday. Don't be late to an appointment with a wood. They'll take it personal. So you can see how someone who has a rhythm that is much slower, right, like a water, being 15 minutes late is just the norm for them. You can see how these dynamics in the workplace start creating conflict. When we understand the natural rhythms of another, it doesn't mean that we excuse whenever that there is a lapse in how the desired outcome comes to be, but we can understand how to better prevent these problems from occurring or conflicts in the first place, right? For a wood might understand that a water's natural rhythm being different than their own might actually ask that water to come 30 minutes before that the dinner reservation actually is. Any of you do that? You might be a wood and you might know a water. So again, coming back to this kind of workaholic quality that the woods have, this never settle attitude. They will not settle for the good enough job just to get the project done. They will get the project done, and they will make sure that they get it done with the budget that was given to them to get it done. So if you want a job to get done, get a wood. When wood is overwhelmed, however, and they're out of control, then this can kind of be a problem because it can leave teams feeling as though just before that they can get ready to celebrate the big win that they have just completed, before they know it, another venture, another project on the list has been dumped on their desk. Woods can work themselves, but other elements may not be able to keep up with that pace, and woods may need to embrace support from some of the other elements to help balance this. But in the instance that we need execution, we will want a wood. Now we bring ourselves to the element of fire. So if we are a dominant fire element, this symbolizes passion, novelty, and excitement. Every entrepreneur will have to find the value in learning their second, third, fourth, fifth, when we talked about that a little bit, right? Knowing that you are going to get some punches and you better learn how to take them. There's going to be no question about that. But nobody takes a punch better and moves on than a fire. Fire is all about rebirth. That's just who they are. This is the element that we want when we need to be able to hop from one to the next. Resiliency. We want to generate buzz, attract the limelight, center stage, and just keep up with the Joneses. So if the brand that we're looking to maybe revamp or give a 21st century update, perhaps a fire is who we really need to look to turn the tide at that time. They know how to not just look for the next best thing, but they can actually become it. But when fire is overwhelmed, this can also be problematic, as can all the elements, for a couple reasons. The glow of fire is like no other. The command and desire that it begets and the enthusiasm and excitement that it's used to being greeted with is something that it expects. And when it doesn't get that, it can be prone to looking for distractions. Fires may feel, many who are working alongside a fire may feel like that the fire has abandoned ship. This can leave them feeling frustrated and or multiple avenues of hurt and or abandonment. And so this can create some problems, as well as can, again, any of the elements or entrepreneurial elemental styles when out of balance. But if we need a shift in energy, right? If we need a team to be reinvigorated and excited, then a fire is who's going to do that for you. A fire was born to do that. If you are an entrepreneur with a dominant fire element, this is the quality that you will have as a way to go about animating your own business as a single entrepreneur, but also your engagement to lead others. This is how your call to action to lead others will be met. Now, finally, we come to the earth element. Earth signifies stability, nurturing, and practicality. It is steadfast and ever reliable. An earth element is pretty much never going to let you down. They will not let someone's expectations fall short of them. Just as Mother Earth hosts the platform of life as we know it, earth element unifies all elements. And it does so with empathy and action to support and serve. And it's the literal base which puts all of these elements together. It's the glue, if you will. But with that said, this do others or do for others mantra, I should say, that is mobilized by earth element. In the professional sphere, this can kind of cause a problem, because when we infuse and we exude this type of family and familiarity, right? It can be something that can create an Achilles heel, and that we kind of tend to lapse in accountability. That separation that we might see that is easy and natural and inherent for a metal element, to the point that if it's imbalanced comes off as very standoffish and aloof and offensive even. We kind of have the opposite problem when it comes to the earth. We don't have a boundary there. And so for that, we cannot hold others accountable. Maybe our team, maybe ourselves, right? And this can definitely cost a business its professional ability to make a profit, because a business must be able to do so, right? If it's going to be sustainable. But when we need an earth in charge is whenever we need stability. When we look through all these elements that I just mentioned, with waters being who create the idea, metals who will go on to engineer it, and woods who will build it, fires who will sell it. Earths are going to be the ones that are going to give that leverage, so that once that this cycle has in fact come to completion, that it continues to be there. That there continues to be the literal sphere for that to actually exist. Earths are great at remembering that it's not just about the professional goal at hand, but that there are people, and that there is a personal level and dynamic that unify all these elements that are contributing. And that we get actually a life made out of this experience, and not just a living. Every element is important. All of them contribute in their own way, their unique gifts and insights and entrepreneurial leadership. But depending which ones we are, we may have certain types of challenges or opportunities that others won't. The more that our team grows, the more opportunities we have to be able to balance that. And when we actually show our platform tomorrow, where we actually go through and walk you a behind the scenes tour of how some of this works and functionality, show you a little bit of the demo videos, all of that, I'm going to point out some of these dynamics that kind of actually speak to many of these entrepreneurial styles. What the fires are going to like about this platform, what the earths are going to like about this platform, what the metals are going to like about this platform with their little OCD selves. There's a little something for everybody, all types of entrepreneurial leaders. Now, that's just the beginning. That's just the intro. But Root Cause Solutions, again, was something formed out of a full circle experience that we lived here at Root Cause and did the hard way, as I like to say, but have come out and are once again standing. We have come back to ourselves, and in that ability to have gone through that transformation, knowing what I know now, what I would have liked to have known then, is what we're all imparting here on you. Not just because we're doing that to do that, but we did it to find a solution for ourselves. So now this is something that we have for our students of the Physics Meets Physiology course. And in talking with others who became interested in using this for their own naturopathic doctor practices, chiropractic practices, yoga studios, etc., became something that we said, hey, I think we just had a new baby born, and add to the brand. So this truly is a holistic platform for healers of all kinds, those in the health and wellness space looking for a holistic platform that's not only going to incorporate everything so that we can monetize and consolidate in a single spot, get more time, and have a balance between the personal and the professional sphere, but have the ability to also cultivate the personal sphere itself. We're going to centralize logistics and automate pretty much everything here, align our abundance on all levels, and really bring the vibes, because we're going to be connecting tribes here, as we said. Now, if you take this actual quiz, again, you can get your dominant elements, and we're going to speak a little bit more about that. And if you sign up or subscribe, you will be able to have access to some of these blog posts. But to do the full shebang, as I like to say, you'll have to sign up. And we do actually have a 30-day free trial. It is risk-free, so you can try free for 30 days. And if you do sign up, you will be entered for a 8-week package, meaning we will select one lucky winner from those who actually sign up for the free trial for a free 8-week package with Root Cause Clinic. This is going to include 2 test kits, which are $400 value each, as well as 2 appointments with your provider, coming in at $300 to $400 value there, and ongoing support provided throughout the process. So this is actually a exponentially upwards of $1,200 value. And one of you will win it simply for taking the free trial with Root Cause Solutions. So that pretty much brings us to the introductory point, a little bit about how we got to this point of launching this new baby that we have, and even the personal dynamics behind it. I can truly say that I've come full circle, and I almost didn't feel like I would come back to this point, but I have, and I've come back to it better than ever. And I'm here to share it all with you. So see you tomorrow, because tomorrow we will actually have a behind the scenes look at what we're going to be doing with Root Cause Solutions. Until then, I'll see you then, Frequency fam. Yes. Everybody, we actually have a guest speaker. So in speaking to the destigmatizing of success and what that's supposed to look like in this sphere, we have Britt and Amanda. So they are from Nuvita, the CBD company. They're going to speak to us a little bit about what it means to push past these barriers whenever that we're able to come into accepting that success can look one way versus another. And we've talked about those 2 today. And we're going to see how it looks whenever we do it in the way that automates that abundance cycle. So I'll turn over the floor to you, ladies.
Veronica didn't tell you we are on our elite retreat. So I apologize. We are in the car. We are in beachwear. We just got off the boat. we're not used to the time change, and we thought it was an hour from now. So please excuse our attire and everywhere that we are, or everything that we are right now. Yeah.
Hi guys, again, our apologies for the attire. But my name is Amanda Beta. I am the proud CEO of New Vita. We are a woman-owned CBD company that prides itself on being certified organic, certified glyphosate-free, and extremely transparent, or as transparent as we possibly can be with our lab reports. And we're super on top of the quality of our products because we care so much about helping people heal as quickly as possible that we know we have to deliver on our end too. And I know, Veronica, you've tested the CBD against a lot of your patients that you see. And so, yeah, we're just really excited to be able to chat with you guys today. Again, pardon the chat.
And so we wanted to introduce you to the group because we wanted for you to share your story on how you created New Vita. Like, it was first an idea and something that has transpired into this, huge business that you have. And then Britt could talk a little bit about destigmatizing affiliate marketing, which is how your business is built, right? And so Britt is one of a great resource. And so if you guys could talk a little bit about that, that would be amazing.
Okay, cool. So yes, I previously worked for another CBD company before I started New Vita. So I really understood how to sell the product. I was number 2 in the sales, and I really just understood how to sell the product on social media. And that relationship kind of fizzled out, and I gave it a break for just like a month or 2. And then I decided to start my own CBD company. My husband comes from a line of entrepreneurs. So just jumping over that really quickly, that chasm super quickly, and not being afraid to start a business is in his blood. So we did that. We started in November of 2019, and we have been growing ever since. We're super excited to be where we are today. We are paving the way for quality because, as you guys know, CBD is like the wild, wild west. And there is a bunch of interesting characters in the industry, and they're selling products that do not help people heal. If anything, they could be full of heavy metals, things like that, that burden the body and its ability to heal. So yeah, we really just started out of this mission to help people heal, to give, stay-at-home moms or working moms an opportunity to make more money. The way the world is right now, these jobs that you can do from your phone anywhere are super helpful for a lot of people. And, the difference between a family staying afloat and a family being financially in a position of struggle is the difference of $500. And there are several people in our organization that make that and more every single month. And so we know that this opportunity can help bridge that gap for so many people so they don't have to struggle. So can take a breath and, reprioritize their focus. Instead of being in scarcity mode, they can be in just like working mode and abundance mode. So, yeah, we're super excited. Like Britt said, we're on this elite trip. Britt is actually one of the girls that has won it. We're in Lake Havasu right now, and it's absolutely beautiful. So I'll pass the phone over to B. We're here to help people feel better as fast as humanly possible. So we're excited to chat. Okay.
Hello. Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed that we are in the beach attire. I at least hope
Great
some
to
of you
share
have seen
what
my
you
story.
can accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first elite retreat. This is the second one that I earned, but this is the first I've been able to go on. And, I've been in sales for 18 years. And I think that, some of the stigma that comes with MLM and direct marketing and, whatever we want to call it these days, right? It's all very similar, is crazy because it's the exact same thing as a sales organization. You have somebody above you who's somebody, I was a vice president of sales, and I'm still a senior, vice president at my company now. I do this as a side gig, and I make more money with New Vita than I do my job. So just to kind of put that out there, I think that when people have this stigma that it's like everybody jumps on board one of these companies. You have to pay a lot of money to get into it, which is not the case with Nuvita, as you all likely know. You have to continue to purchase things. You're slapping a code on your screen. You're, this is the stigma, right? It's not the reality. Like, success is not linear. What you're doing is not linear. It should not be the same every day. You shouldn't be just slapping a picture and a code on your screen. The reality of your life, just as if it were a sales organization. If you're, I sell payroll for a living, selling payroll to a company, it's the same type of sales pitch as I am doing with Vita. It's a different product. It's helping somebody better, feel better, and have relief from their organization or from their health condition or, what they're going through. And I think that a lot of these companies that earn the stigma, quite frankly, it's because there's no push to learn about their quality. There's no push to learn about how their product actually affects people. It is usually just about like earning a rank. And here at Nuvita, you actually don't have to earn a higher rank to get the highest commission. So, I think that's a really big differentiator. It kind of breaks that stigma in half. You're kind of like, okay, it's not the same as everything else that's out there. It's a little bit different. There are organizations that are like that as well. But I really think that when you come into it and you're someone like me who's, there are people who are not in sales as well, but you're someone like me who's been in sales for a long time and you're kind of looking at it from afar and you're like, I don't know, there's so much stigma. Like, I didn't know it was a stigma. It was just a stigma. I just heard it. I heard the rumors. I heard that you can't make a ton of money out of it, that it's embarrassing. Even when I started, I was embarrassed, but I don't know why. It was just because there was like this cloud above me that had been presented and it wasn't reality. Reality is I'm doing nothing different than working my full-time job helping people. And you have to learn in this business to accept that and to like bleed that. Like, it has to be what you talk about. It has to be, when you're talking about your product and what it's doing, it has to be real. It has to be the same thing as if you're in a retail store selling Victoria's Secret. You're not going to tell somebody that something looks good on them that doesn't. You're going to offer something else. I know that's a crazy analogy, but it's true. So I don't know what other parts, if you want to open it up for questions or something, like I can help you. We have all of our other leaders here as well. So anybody can jump in. These are all of our top leaders who earned the trip. Well, there's another van too, but so, I mean, that's the reality of it. We're all different ranks. We're all different, everybody that's here, some large accounts, some small accounts. I also think it's really important. Amanda and I talking about that with you guys. I have an account with 50,000 people. I get less views than Jess, who's sitting behind me, who has 1,500 followers and probably has a couple hundred views. Yeah. And we make very similar money. She was the first brand ambassador in the company. So, the amount of followers doesn't matter because it's not a true like MLM in a sense where you think you just throw a code out there. You're actually connecting with people. You're connecting them, you're forming relationships, you're literally helping them find relief. And if it doesn't work the first time, you're coaching them through it. How did it go? How were your first 5 days? Oh, it didn't work at all. I didn't feel anything. What did you get again? I got the CBD and the CBN. Remind me what your problems are. I have fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, and I can't sleep. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Change it to this, and you just become more of like a consultant than you do. I keep saying it, but I need to drive it home than slapping a code out there. On my team, I've got about, 250 people on my team and on my downline, and maybe 70 to 80 of them are actively selling per month, a good amount. And I'd say about 15 to 20 of them are consistent and show up like I show up, which is real and raw. If I have a bad day, I talk about it. If I don't like the taste of something, I talk about it. If I, if something makes me sleep really, really well, I talk about it. If I have a nightmare because my combination wasn't the right thing, I talk about it. Those things are real and people connect to those. And it just completely throws that stigma out the door. You're no longer seen as somebody who's just making money off of them. You're seen as somebody who truly cares about what you're selling. And then people don't care that you're making money. They truly don't.
I love that. Britt, I have a question for you. How long have you been a Nuvita affiliate?
So I actually started using Nuvita when I was in the hospital with Guillain-Barré and after my injury.
Mhm.
And I used it for, I want to say like 6 months while you guys started my protocol as well. And then after about 6 months, I realized that you could get paid to share it. And Amanda was like, yeah, we have a new affiliate. The affiliate program was new at the time. She's like, we just launched it and you can actually get paid for doing what you're doing already. And I was like, yeah, I've heard that line before. And she's like, no, like literally what you're doing already, you just continue to do, but you share a code this time and they'll get a discount and you'll get paid. I was like, holy crap. And my first check was like, oh, that was, you asked how long. That was about a year and a half ago.
Yep.
My first check was like $800. And I'm only sharing this because everybody on here is probably like-minded. And I want you to know the reality of it. My second check was probably right under 2,000. And I mean, I've gotten up to 13,000 now a month.
That's amazing. So we actually have a question. Somebody said, hi, lovely ladies. What is the time investment per day or per week promoting and consulting?
So this question's going to be, or the answer is going to be different from anyone. Amanda's up here shaking her head saying 30 minutes to an hour. I can't put like a full, oh, sorry, somebody was calling. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, sorry, someone tried to call through. I don't put like a time limit on mine exactly because I'm on my stories anyway. So I'm really not doing anything different. I'm not hey girl DMing. I do not hey girl anybody. It's the worst thing I could possibly do. I'm messaging people all the time anyway. So the answer for me is going to be very different than somebody who's never done this before and who's brand new to social media. If you're brand new to social media, we are here to help teach you. We have marketing, we have coaching, we have one-on-ones, even with Amanda, and it's probably 30 minutes to an hour a day that you're putting in to learn the protocols, learn the product. You really need to learn the product. You're not going to learn it up front, but you're going to put that time in per day to learn little nuggets. And when you learn the little nugget, we encourage you to share the little nugget. And over time, it will just be your normal routine. I would say I don't add, if I make a reel that I'm like promoting the business side of it, that probably takes me about an hour to 2 hours because I'm filming it, I'm editing it, I'm using an AI, believe it or not, thing to help me with the captions. I wasn't doing that before, but you learn these things as you go. And so I'd say those take me like an hour to 2 hours, but otherwise,
Well, just starting out, you gotta
Yeah.
remind them that like their warm market is their frank list, their friends, relatives, acquaintance, neighbors, kids, friends, and spouses, basically like the spouses of your friends. Those are the warm market and they're the easiest people to kind of share your story with. And I think that's what I always tell everybody. I'm like, what's gonna sell the product for you to like know to have people know that it really works is you sharing your story. And Brittany is clearly an example of how you can monetize that. Not to say that monetizing something awful happening to you, but anyways, you can turn something like that into something positive. And Brittany has been incredible at just showing up consistently, sharing her story. And when we analyze the success of our reps, one of the things that we notice across the board with everybody as they constantly share their story, they are constantly talking about, different products that we have, how they've worked for other people, sharing testimonials, studies, things like that, backing up what we're talking about.
Pictures.
No, not just pictures, because we really like the process here is to really form relationships with people. Like Britt said, we're not going to teach you how to do Hey Girl DMs. I think they're absolutely atrocious. And it's no way to show somebody off the bat that you care. And building trust for somebody to know that you care enough about them to help them takes a little bit of time. So I just encourage you guys, be patient, stay consistent. The best thing that you can do is focus on building your relationships and setting that dedicated time. This is what we've been telling everybody lately. You have to set aside dedicated, focused business hours for your business. And it really, in the grand scheme of things, once you get in the flow of interacting with people on a daily basis and DMs and things like that, it should take you no more than an hour a day, even starting off. Just form relationships, share your story, share everybody else's testimonials. There's testimonials all over, the Facebook group, once you guys are a part of that, as well as the WhatsApp testimonial group. That thing is always going off with great stories.
Because CBD, when you talk about CBD, it's not like you can show a blatant before and after with, well, you can for some things, but like when you take it internally, it's a lot of anecdotal information. So this is really where the power of storytelling comes into play, because somebody can always relate to one or another person's story. And I think it's incredibly powerful and it gives people hope.
I want to say
So,
one last thing
Yeah,
too.
for sure.
I want to add to that just one last thing that I think is really important with the way that I show up and what has gotten me to my success. I think one of the things that makes me so successful is that I share my story. And I don't mean just the Nuvita story. I share everything about my story. So when I show up and you ask how long it takes and how much time I'm putting in, when I'm showing up, I'm talking about my cold plunging. I'm talking about things I don't make money off of, guys, like things that are just part of what my story is. I'm talking about food that I'm eating. If, my daughter's celiac, I'll talk about things that hurt my belly and things I'm taking, MCT oil and, maybe a new supplement, or maybe, I ran that day and it made me feel crappy. Like everybody who follows me and comes to my page, they know my story. So when I do talk about CBD and I do slap it up there and say I'm in a pinch and I just slap up, we're having a promo and I slap it up there. By this time, they've already heard me talk about it so much and they've heard me talk about my story so much that they trust what I'm saying because they know that it's part of my story. It's not just me monetizing off of one thing. So I think that part of it is really important because some people make the mistake to come into, network marketing and they've never used social media before, maybe just a little bit, and they've dabbled, and they just go all full-fledged Nuvita. And it's like that, honey, that's going to turn everybody away. Like you cannot do that. You have to find your story and you have to come in like, even with Root Cause, I've had tremendous success with Root Cause. And so many people trust me because of that when it comes to recommending them.
You want people to be a product
Right.
of the product.
You want people to be a product of
Yeah.
the product. That is absolutely correct. So those are like, I think that part of it is really important because I think that if you miss that, you're going to miss out on not only a ton of relationships, but a ton of money.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, Britt. Thank you, Amanda. I love this story because
You're welcome.
$13,000 a month, and that required no prior education or anything. So how can you get into like a business where you're already making six figures, in a year and a half investment of time and making it a part of your journey and your story? So thanks, ladies. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
And
thanks for the time.
next time we'll be fully clothed and in a good setting. And if anybody has questions, please do reach out to us. We are an open book and we're open to lives. We're open to conversations. We're open to Zooms, whatever you guys need.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
ladies.
you guys.
Retreat.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. So that's just a little personal insight from Amanda, who built Nuvita, and Britt, who has worked both with us and also obviously started out taking Nuvita and then ended up actually just using what she was doing in her own natural rhythm, right, to leverage that and actually allow that to be her success, and then breaking away from any type of a shame or stigma model as far as how that should really look, right? It could look easier or harder depending on which portion of that spiral that we referenced earlier on in today's PowerPoint screen. And which one we can choose really depends on not just the available options, technologically speaking, and automating that abundance, but also how we're going to author that alphabet structure that we've been given, because ultimately we can be given the alphabet, but the author, right, is going to be who brings that to animation. And tomorrow, that's exactly what we're going to be showing is the back end version of things that will automate a lot of what, Britt even talked about. So when we're reaching out to people, how can we reach out to them? And instead of just doing this, even one-to-one type of thing, how can we prompt so that through this structure, that's already done for you, at least as much to the degree as possible as it can be done based on what is coming in the interest to the page, and preparing and, giving what is needed to take the next step of action to those who come to your page. And also, especially with affiliate marketing, depending on the technologies that, companies you may be working with, if you have any affiliate links, what they're using, it may or may not capture individuals that are coming to your page. How many times may people be coming to look at something from you? They found out about something from you, but then perhaps they didn't really bite on that for a couple of days. And when they did, it was just going to their computer and, simply actually finding that themselves. So there's a lot of things that tie in together on that back end to avoid some of these conundrums that we see in affiliate marketing, streamline it and allow it to be not having to necessarily do the one-to-one thing as much, because it can be automated for you into funnels. All you do is you set it up one time, and there's actually education videos that will show you how to do that. There's a whole back end of support to show you how to do all of this, and put that in there so it's time spent one time instead of that time every single day that we're doing. We do that and we prepare ourselves so that what is left after that is significantly less and actually much more niche down, so that our time is spent, and our energy invested in a way that is much more amplified or productive. There's been so much work that's been done for us, right? Because we've automated that abundance, all just in the way that is inherent and organic to who we are. Social media, for example, even being able to strategize and to put things out there and to centralize your posts, to have your post in one area, your marketing in one, your website in one, your shop in one, appointments in one, calendar in one, all of it. Because that is exactly what was our problem in coming to this point, is all these different areas. And guess what? At the end of the day, we're trying to integrate them all together. This platform doesn't want to work with this one. We have to ask for this to be changed for that. And at the end of the day, again, we're not even getting what it is that is our answer, right? That we wanted. We're still having to kind of appease, and accept something that wasn't what we really sought out for. So we created it. And that's exactly what we're going to look at tomorrow in more depth, where you can see all the back end as to what the structure, right, or the alphabet that I've talked about. But also kind of after you're able to take this test, which if we haven't put that yet, ladies, do we have the link, Deanna, for the actual elements test for people to take? You can go and do that. And then actually the results will come into you this weekend to be able to see your element. And then some of these things that we talked about might ring a bell to you, but there's even more yet that we can talk about, because when we go through tomorrow and look at the back end, I'm going to point out, what is the tool that's going to really be something that water element would love or thrive on, or help to balance them where that they get, stuck. And likewise for all the elements, and how we can actually see all of this that we would need represented in one platform, so that if we even have that single entrepreneur, they're able to go in and have something that's an automation for them that helps them in an area where it's just not their natural rhythm, or the area that they're, a bit weaker in. And to make that something that is able to be done regardless, right? You are a Waterbrook. rootcausesolutions.co. Yeah. So everybody make sure you go check that out. And to test, I am a water and a metal element, and boy, am I. I mean, when you take this, it's not just going to make sense from the entrepreneurial portion of things, but it's going to be expanded upon indefinitely. We have just so many ways, from the way that we might feel our best, right? You want to go give a presentation to pitch your company. Maybe you're not that, flashy plasma fire element as your dominant element, but what would that look like in your most inherent rhythm? What should your office look like, right? Who should your assistant really be if you're a specific type of element to help balance your foil? All of this is stuff that we can actually use the elements for to best strategize and set ourselves up for success. It's logistics, but it's also, working within the fundamental law of nature. And I always say that when we find solutions that they work with the wheel and not against it is whenever we see success. And we will learn not to fear success this time around, right? Brooke says that her secondary element jumps from wood to fire. I've taken 2 tests that tell me my secondary is fire, and one that has said I'm wood. Well, wood gives way to fire. So it just depends on what you have going on in your life, how the distribution of things can change a little bit. So any other questions before we kind of maybe give everybody back their Friday night and then adjourn and see you all tomorrow for looking at the back end of Root Cause Solutions and seeing what it can do for you? Any questions?
Veronica,
Deanna, did I forget anything today?
I wanted to add, so when you go to rootcausesolutions.co, not .com, when you subscribe to the website, it'll then send you the elements quiz. And then you'll get the results in your inbox tomorrow morning. And be sure to show up tomorrow, because we are giving away an 8-week package from Root Cause Clinic. It's $1,095 value. And in order to enter, you can go to our website and subscribe for the 30-day free trial of Root Cause Solutions. We're not delving deep into that today on what it'll give you, but when you go to the website, you can kind of peruse it. And tomorrow we'll delve deep into that. But you can, if you want to jumpstart and start today, then you can, and that'll give you entry to earn a free 8-week package with Root Cause Clinic.
Woo. You hear that, everybody? So go subscribe. There is actually a 30-day free trial. And so we're going to be giving away that big value 8-week package, which usually is a little bit more than that. But 2 test kits, 2 appointments, and be able to actually see if you want. There's a new scan that we have, the etheric anatomical model, which actually goes through and looks at a lot of things that can kind of help us see your natural rhythms with yin and yang within the Chinese medicine sphere. So definitely worth trying. You have nothing to lose. Okay, I guess then that's it, right? I think we hit everything. Thanks for bringing that up, Deanna, because I think I forgot that. So otherwise, I'll see everybody tomorrow. Thank you for attending, everyone.